if I add up the following, year 1 is 20k, year 2 is 50k, year 3 is 30k. If I add that up, you can clearly see that the 100k will be paid back into year 3. So it will take 3 years for this investment to pay that 100,000 rand back. And that is the payback period. Now, what is the acceptable criteria for payback? If I take a lot of companies worldwide will accept a payback period of minimum 3 years, median 5 years, and maximum 7-year payback period. Because if you invest money, you would want to know, when will I get that money back? Because it's a cash outflow. It's a cash outflow, right? And you need to know when you're going to get your money back. So that is what payback period will do for a project, which is very, very important, right? The next one is called the net present value, and the net present value is the following. The net present value looks at the future cash flows of an investment, discounted back at the discount rate back to the present, and it takes the difference between the present value and the future cash flow discount to the present, and the difference between the investment cost and the future cash flow discounted to the present will give you your net present value. That will give you your net present value. In other words, there is a discount factor for NPV, and the discount factor is 1 upon the rate minus n to the 1. And that is the formula for the discount factor. Right, so if you invest money, you need to know what cash flows are this investment going to bring in. And here is the cash flows. That is future cash flow, 20,000. The second year is 50,000. The third year is 30,000. So if you take these 3 cash flows and you discount that at, make an example, at 10% discount rate. If you take all the 3 cash flows at 10% and you discount that back to the present, which will give you your present value of these 3 cash flows back to the present, and the difference between the present value of future cash flows to 100,000 rand, the difference between that will give you the net present value. Now the question here is, if the net present value is positive or it can be negative. If the net present value is positive, then the investment should be accepted. If the net present value is negative, then the investment should be rejected. Right. So we are looking for positive NPVs, and we are not looking for negative NPVs, net present value. And what does a positive net present value do? For every net present value, for every, let's say you have a net present value of 1,000 rand positive, it tells you that the company has increased its shareholder value by 1,000 rand. So the company is now worth 1,000 rand more. So that is what net present value does. It contributes to the bottom line of the organization, the profitable bottom line. So here we can clearly see that financial feasibility make companies grow if the project is feasible. So the project will grow. Right. And the internal rate of return is just the rate that the project will bring back return greater than the cost of capital. Now, what is the cost of capital? If you go and borrow money, you pay interest on that money, and that is called the cost of capital. So if the internal rate of return, if the IRR is greater than the cost of capital, if the IRR is greater than the cost of capital as a percentage, then it means the project or the investment should be accepted, because the internal rate of return is greater than the cost of capital. Right. If I rank these three, if I rank them, then net present value will rank as number 1, payback period will rank as number 2, and internal rate of return will rank as number 3. What is the problem with payback period? The only problem with payback period is that after the project is paid back, the other cash flows beyond payback period is not taken into account. And also, payback period doesn't take time value of money into consideration. And that can become a bit of a problem. Meaning a rand today will still be a rand in 2 years' time. As with net present value takes time value of money in consideration. Meaning, a rand today might be 5 rand next year. So it takes the time value of money. That is why we said the discount factor is 1 upon the rate and the return to the power 1. That is the discount factor, taking time value into money, time value of money into consideration. There I have a graph of the weighted scoring model for project selection, meaning once you have determined the internal rate of return, you have determined the net present value, you have determined your payback period, now you need to go and do project selection. Now what happens if you have 2 positive NPVs of both investments? Which one will you select? According to the rule, you will select the biggest NPV, which will bring more shareholder value to the company. And then you can see project 1, project 2, project 3, project 4, and there's all the different criteria, there's the weighted scoring, and you can clearly see on this picture here that project 2, look at project 2. Project 2 is really, in terms of the NPV, the IRR, and all of that, gives us a much better return. So we will select project 2.